Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, hi. I'm Stephen Sondheim. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm in the Sierra Club. I'm on the Nuclear Free campaign. I essentially want to make three comments. And one is that the young man, the engineer, and the man from NEIS made comments about us trusting them and them learning to find a solution, which is not, and it's obvious there's not a solution yet, and there's never been one, and I don't think we should base confidence on a possible learning curve to find out one. In fact, I'm sure we shouldn't. The second thing is that I've been looking at the coal ash problem around the country lately. For 100 years, we've had a coal lake problem. It's not like radioactive waste, but it has its dangers, it has its health problems. And the coal industry has not taken full responsibility for it. They've dumped it in pools, in piles. There have been spills. They still don't even have a way to handle that. And they've reneged on their responsibility to fully take care of it. And I see a parallel or even worse situation with nuclear waste. We have nothing that can be done with it at the moment. We're piling it up. We're busting at the seams, especially in the pools. There's no way we should have any weight of confidence until we know exactly what we're going to do with it. So I think a generic decision should be no waste confidence. And the last point I want to make is that there's so many different kinds of plants. There's plants with pools in the air. There's plants of different designs. There's plants near earthquake faults, near water. There's no way not to have to look at each situation when it comes around in order to judge things. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm Doug Ulman from Northbrook, Illinois. It's a suburb of Chicago, and I'm calling because I do live in a nuclear-surrounded city. I'm very concerned about that. It's nice to have confidence that we don't have any problems, but I don't share that confidence. It seems rather absurd to me because I'm hearing forecasts that we could go into wind and the water and solar and replace not only nuclear fossil fuel too. If we just put in like 10% of the investment that we put in already in the nuclear power, we might have something that's really sustainable. I'm also very concerned about the amount of, I'm very concerned about the amount of water that's being used to cool these nuclear reactors. We're in a period of heavy drought, and they've had to shut down nuclear reactors because of too little water as well as too much water. It requires water. Guys, come on, let's be real about this. Let's try to make something that's sustainable for our kids and grandkids. So those are my concerns. It just makes no sense to continue throwing so much taxpayer money into the nuclear industry when it is not the wave of the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Doug. And let's try Mark. Mark Leslie, or Les?
Yes. Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, I'd just like to provide one example regarding issues of spent fuel storage. And this is an example of current unsafe conditions in Indian Point Unit 2's spent fuel pool. So just some background. In an NRC meeting in September 2013 regarding Japan Lessons Learned project, Rod McCullum of the Nuclear Energy Institute stated, quote, "We understand in the industry we can no longer rely on Boraflex," end of quote. Boraflex is a neutron absorber which is intended to help prevent criticality accidents, and it is located in spent fuel racks. Boraflex has a documented history of degrading. Nonetheless, it is still used in a number of spent fuel pools, including Indian Point Unit number 2 spent fuel pool. And there's a document from 2002 that says that the high-density storage racks in region 1-2 of the Indian Point Unit 2 spent fuel pool were, quote, assumed to have sustained a 50% loss of Boraflex, end of quote. That's due to degradation. That can be found in your Adams database at ML021230367. So that's back in 2002. However, that is actually based on a criticality analysis that was done in September 20, 2001, because there's an NRC letter regarding Indian Point Unit number 2 that is from, that's September 24th, 2013, and that letter says that the current criticality analysis of record, which takes credit for Boraflex inserts as neutron absorbers, was submitted back in 2001. And then it also notes that subsequent operating experience has demonstrated the non-uniform physical degradation of Boraflex inserts. Now that is in Adams' database at ML13256A086. So basically, back in 2001, your current analysis of record for criticality concerns, that assumed a sustained loss of 50% of Boraflex that was in the region 1-2 part of the spent fuel pool. So how much Boraflex is left now, 12 years later? Apparently there was a criticality analysis that was supposed to come out in November of this year. I'm not sure if that has been released yet. But basically, it was assumed that there was a loss at that time, 12 years ago, and even Entergy, the licensee of Indian Point, even they have acknowledged that the current, at least the one from 2001, was non-conservative. So, I mean, this is just one little example of a myriad of other problems that are going on with spent fuel pools.
Thanks,
and I
Mark.
just wanted to cite it just to give some concrete evidence.
No, that's thank you for providing that example. Thank you very much. We're going to go to one more person on the phone, and then we have 3 people in the room, and then we'll check and see if anybody else is on the phone. And this is Ace. Ace, are you with us?
Yeah, hello?
Hello, Ace.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you for taking my call. Earlier we heard the NRC say that it's a really brief history of waste continence. And the really brief history of waste continence is 65 years of failure. And there's no feasible state of storage. And I'm talking about something that's going to survive today's threat environment. And this is not a policy decision either, it's a scientific fact, because ionizing radiation destroys any containment. The containment, as we've just heard from the last speaker, are degrading. Most of those containments are financially ridiculous. All containments, even if they were made of gold, they would be inadequate for the length of time we're trying to keep this stuff. Hence the decision that a geologic repository is necessary, because we really don't have any confidence in any other solution. And so waste continence should not be, as Paul initially stated earlier, a small part of the licensing procedure, unquote. Instead, it should be a pass-fail. And so far, they failed. You can't build a house without a sewer. The house would be unlivable soon, is the quote from some nuclear physicists in Japan after Fukushima. And that's where we are right now. We've got 100 reactors producing waste, and we're down 4 this year with nowhere to put it. Four isn't good enough. At 25 years, it would take to close all the other 100 if we're only closing at the rate of 4 a year. So I think we're going to have to do better than that. I think just corrosion and other old age is going to cause us these things to be closing down at a more rapid pace in the near future. And furthermore, the idea that this is a generic EIS, every reactor is located in vastly different, they're vastly different from each other. I mean, the San Milky reactors are so different, they put one in backwards because they didn't realize that the 2 reactors were opposite. One of them failed, and they never really did figure out what was different about the other one. Populations are different, egresses are different, the transportation of the roads and so forth, the sizes are different, the size of the situation, the tornadoes, the earthquakes, the size of the airplanes that might be striking different reactors, the size of the airplanes that were expected when the reactors were built versus what they are flying now, the viciousness of the terrorists. These are all things that have changed our own viciousness as soldiers when we go out and fight. The real effect of a generic EIS is to inhibit later on public discussion, because that's what is decided in a generic EIS. You can't revisit it, and yet we're talking about indefinite storage. I would say that indefinite is a terrible word to use with a generic EIS. And lastly, I think that the whole process is pathetic, because the state of the art of high-pressure fuel knowledge is practically zero. Despite the claims that we've been hearing to the contrary, every zirconium cladding is different. And maybe one has been tested, and nothing's been tested for very long. Testing just simply hasn't been done. We're talking about engineers who cannot, in 65 years, they haven't been able to solve the kinds of problems that occurred in Fukushima, and now 2 years later, we're still nowhere near a good solution to that. They're gingerly trying to use fuel. The perfect complement to intermittent renewables is energy storage systems. And we don't need nuclear power as an interim solution for climate change any more than we need interim storage solutions for nuclear waste. What we need are permanent storage solutions, because right now, at the beginning of this nuclear waste process, the fuel is thousands of times more dangerous. It's also a lot harder to get at, as someone else pointed out. By the time the fuel starts to be not so dangerous to get near, it becomes a proliferation threat. So at all times, it's not a good idea having anything to do with this stuff.
Okay, Ace, I'm going to have to ask you to close now so that we can go on to other people, but thank you. Thank you for those comments.
Let me one half sentence, which is that what we need is a permanent solution to permanently closed nuclear power plants. And we can't come up with any other solutions anywhere. So close them all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.